Okay, hi everyone, welcome and thank you for joining our first devlog session for Midwest 90 Rapid City. My name is Kesh and I'm the game director here at Hidden Chest Studios. If you've been a member for our Discord group and our social media, you might have seen some of our content that we've been posting, but you might still have some lingering questions on what the game is all about. And well, that's what I'm here for, and I think the best place to start is to talk about the background of the game. And then I'm going to show you some gameplay, and after that, you can ask me anything about the game. And you can ask your questions in the Ask Devs channel group on this server. So, um, let's see, let's get a move on. So, about the game, Midwest 90 is a story-driven survival tycoon game where you build and protect your restaurant that cooks and serves monster meat. The game is also set in the future when America is going through a second Great Depression and the Midwest states are practically starving due to the collapse of infrastructure in the US. And at the same time, Rapid City, where the game is set, is dealing with attacks from monsters of mysterious origins that have appeared on the Black Hills. It's a weird, in a weird twist of fate, the hungry people of Rapid City have also started hunting and eating these monsters. And you play a businessman who opens a restaurant in Rapid City and sells monster dishes made from from monster meat. So let's talk a little bit more about the inspiration behind the game. The idea of the game came about when I was eating a burger at Betty's Midwest Kitchen, a restaurant here in Malaysia. As I was sitting there eating, I began to imagine monsters lurking outside the restaurant, waiting for them to crash into the restaurant. I took the idea a step further. What if we killed the monsters and cooked and served their food for their meat for food? I also asked myself, how far would I go to keep my business alive? So that was the genesis of the idea, which started with Alex, which I shared with Alex, our project manager, and Yiming, our programmer, and we thought it was great. And we started working on the game since January 2020. So what's our game all about? And in a nutshell, it's about monsters and Midwest-inspired dishes with monster dishes and the survival story of Rapid City from the perspective of a restaurant owner. So let's just jump right into the game right now, alright? So as you can see here, um, this is the game, and this is the restaurant scene, and this is where you'll be spending most of your time in the game. We're still working on the visuals. A lot of what you see here is still placeholder. For our aesthetics, we're trying to capture the look and feel of the old isometric games from the late 90s to 2000. The reason for this is that I personally feel the late 90s and the 2000s was the golden age of gaming, and developers back then achieved so much, with so little. And since we are a small developer, we wanted to capture the essence of games from back then, from that period, within our tiny budget. Now, as you can see here, the UI that we have also is actually placeholder. We built it just for the sake of the build, and the inspiration that we are looking for in terms of the UI is from Fallout 1 and Fallout 2, where the UI has a more material look rather than how games are these days, which trend towards having flat and very clean UI designs. So we feel that a UI design that is skeuomorphic, which is like very material based, will better complement the setting of the game. So I'm going to talk about right now two important things, which is the outside of the restaurant and the inside of the restaurant. So we'll start with the outside of the restaurant first. The outside of the restaurant is the place where monsters will be attacking the restaurant from. They will be coming from the forest area to the restaurant to attack um, your the restaurant. Now, at the moment, you can see the area between the forest and the restaurant is clear, but that's because we will be working on that as we progress through our development. So for now, I would like you to imagine a maze of broken rubble from a destroyed shopping mall. So that's what we plan to have around the restaurant, and the monsters have to navigate this rubble maze to get to your restaurant. The reason why we did that is we're doing that way is because this is also where you set up your traps for the monsters, the main way how you kill your monsters in the game. Next, we're going to be focusing now on the inside of the restaurant. As you can see here, we have a waiter here. He's also kind of a placeholder model. And the aesthetics that we're going for is more of a steakhouse rather than a diner, which is more common in the USA. But we thought since it's the Midwest and based on the food and the type of food they eat, we thought a look which was closer to a steakhouse would be much, much better. So we have our waiter here, and we have this guy here. He's Wallace. He's basically your head cook. So let's have a chat with him. So as you can see here, whenever you chat with specific, unique, non-player characters, you'll be brought to a screen like this, where you'll be much closer to the character. And like I mentioned before, our UI is still in the works. So this is what we have at the moment, but it generally gives you the idea. You talk with him over here, you speak to him, and you learn all about the character through this UI. But anyway, at the moment, let's not talk much with Wallace. Let's jump straight into the gameplay. Right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up our menu, and we already have Zoidburger here on our menu. Now I'm going to put the Zoidburger in our menu and adjust the price. As we move forward, we're planning to make the menu system more interesting and have more weight on the gameplay. So right now all you can do is set the price, but what we're planning to do is to give dishes traits. These traits are, for example, like if a customer eats a Zoid burger, there's like a 50% chance that he might order another dish. Or if the customer eats a Zoid burger and a monster attacks the restaurant, that customer might get enraged and actually fight the monster as well. So we want the menu and the dishes in the game to have more impact in terms of the gameplay. But for now, this is what we have. So yep, we've put the dish on the menu, and if you've noticed, after we've put the dish on the menu, we have this now. This is our ingredient meter. Now, if you hover the mouse over it, you get a breakdown of the ingredients that are required to make this particular dish. And as you can see here, we have 3 ingredients, and it tells you how many ingredients each that we have. This is an important meter to keep your eye on, because if your ingredient meter runs down and you have no more ingredients to make the dish, and you keep the dish on the menu, customers might come in and still order the dish, but they will be upset if the waiter tells them the dish is not available. So, having said that, let's open up for business. Let me just get the time running. So, as soon as you open the doors to your restaurant, customers are going to start running in. As you see now, we have one customer that's coming in. This customer also is based on a placeholder model. We have plans to do several types of customer models, and they will be based on the local people from South Dakota, the Midwest. Right. So as you can see here, our ingredients are going down. And the general process is the waiter takes the order from the customer, goes to Wallace cooks, and passes it to the customer. And I just want to talk about popularity, your restaurant popularity, which is this number over here. This is also a number you really have to keep your eye on, because the larger the number is, the more frequently people are going to be coming to your restaurant. And of course, the more customers you get, the more money you make. Right. So, as you can see here, we're running out of ingredients, and at the same time, customers are still coming in. You'll also notice that customers will wait outside unless there's a free table. And if they wait too long, they might get upset and they might leave. So it's important that you also have a lot of tables for your customers. Right. So the next thing I want to talk about, since our ingredients are running low, is that we want to talk about the marketplace. That's where you go to buy your ingredients. Now I'm going to go into the marketplace as soon as it's 8 o'clock. Just give a second. Right, let's go to the marketplace. So you have to plan your trips to the marketplaces as well, because at the marketplace, shops have an operational time, which is from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And at there will be several vendors in the final game. We already have a few, but for the purpose of this presentation, we're just going to show you guys two. So let's go and talk to Wallace. Sorry, not Wallace. This is Jericho, by the way. And Jericho is what I would call the protagonist of this game. And we're working a lot on our characters to give them very in-depth personalities and very interesting story arcs. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a future update. For now, we just want to focus on the gameplay. Also, if we can secure enough funding, we would love to give these characters a voice. But for now, well, it's basically just text for you to read. So let's skip the dialogue. Alright. Before we do skip the dialogue, I also want to show you that you have options when you want to speak to each character. And the options that you have basically have different tones. So you can be rude to Jericho and speak to him, and he'll respond in like most likely. Okay, so that is a little bit about the NPC interaction in the game. Anyway, let's move on with the gameplay. So let's go ahead and buy some Zoid sticks because we need Zoid sticks for our Zoid burger. So I'm gonna buy all the Zoid sticks that this guy has. All right, thanks Jericho. And next, let's go to Karen. Karen is also a key character in the game. She runs the mart, which is based on a real-life location in Rapid City, which is called the Tuscany Square. Now, you go to Karen to buy every ingredients except for the meat. The meat you will have to go and buy from hunters like Jericho, who is actually a big game hunter, and he specifically sells meat from larger monsters. So I'm just going to skip the conversation here. Alright then. And let's just go on to buying more ingredients. So as you can see here, we need buns and we need vegetables. So here we go, we got buns. Let's buy 60 buns as well. And let's buy 60 vegetables. As you can see here, after we've purchased the ingredients, the meter has gone back up. So 63 of each of these ingredients should last us a bit. Alright, let's see what alert do we have here. Jonas has gained 2 motivations from a golden tip. Talk a little bit more about that later. Alright, now we're back to the restaurant. As you can see, our ingredients are back and people are still ordering food. Our waiter just had an accident, so I think now is a good time to talk about accidents and your employee stats. So I'm going to go here and look at employees. So this is an employee's management screen. Your employees have stats such as HP, cooking, service, motivation, speed, and they also collect experience for every task that they do. Now, a person like, say for example, Wallace, his cooking stats are 5, and his service stats are 3. Therefore, he's better in the kitchen. Unlike Jonas, his cooking stats are 1, and his service stats are 4. So he's better suited for the dining area. And let's see. Okay, your employees also have motivation. And motivation determines how much of experience they gain from the tasks they do. As you can see here, Wallace's motivation is only 50%. That means he gets 100% experience from each task. Now, if I give him a bonus, his motivation goes up. And now he earns 160% experience from each task. So that's great. But of course, you can only give a bonus to one of your employees once a month. And adversely, and on the contrast, if you reduce the salary of one of your employees, their motivation will go down, and their motivation, therefore, they will gain experience a little bit slower. But I'm not going to do that in this case. I'm going to give both of them a nice bonus. Now they're both happy, and Jonas has 160% experience from tasks, which is great. So, like we were talking about the accidents, your stats in cooking, which is in the kitchen, also determines your what happens in the kitchen. So, for example, Wallace has a cooking of 5. Therefore, his cook time decreased by 0.2%, and he has a 10% chance of having an accident. While Jonas, his cleanup time is 2.4 seconds as cleaning up tables, and he has a 15% chance of an accident, but he has a 5% chance to get a golden tip. Now, a golden tip is the most a customer in the restaurant can tip one of your employees, and if your staff gets a golden tip, his motivation will go up. That's why you see Jonas over here has 77% of motivation. So that's about your employee stats. The next thing I would like to talk about, yep, you see they're both happy, and they've got 25 motivations from the bonus, both of them. So the next thing I want to talk about is finances. You're running a restaurant, and you need to keep your finances to stay above, to keep your head above the water. So this is a finances screen, and the important thing for you is to make sure that your income and your expenses, that your income is greater than your expenses. Right now, as you can see, the income is a little bit smaller than the expenses. Therefore, I'm only making a net profit of negative 643. But the most important thing that you have to keep an eye on is this, the month-end balance, which is 357. If this goes to negative, like say for example, if you've overspent on your restaurant and you're hiring too many people, at the end of the month, you might actually have a negative number, and that means you're going into debt. So you don't want that to happen, all right? Now, that's in terms of the finances of the restaurant. I also want to talk a little bit about Liberty Fund. Now, the Liberty Fund is the expansion system for the restaurant. Unlike previous, like other most general other tycoon games, where they allow you to expand whenever you want to, this is a survival game. You know, we're a lot bit of a strong survival nature. So we didn't want the expansion of the restaurant to be something so casual that the player could do. So in order for the player to expand his restaurant, he's got to get expansion points. And the way that he gets expansion points is by depositing money into this Liberty Fund. Now, if you've been in our Discord community, I've already shared some content about the law of the game and how the Liberty Fund fits into the law of the game. And I recommend you go and check it out. But in the meantime, let's just focus on the gameplay. So you need, as you can see here, we need $800 to unlock Liberty Fund level 1. So once I unlock Liberty Fund level 1, I will be awarded expansion points. But I don't have the money. I've got $435 only. So for the sake of the game, I'm going to cheat a little bit. For the sake of this presentation, I mean. Alright, now I've got loads of money. Now I'm going to put all the money in the Liberty Fund. Alright, 800 bucks, there. Now I'm going to confirm my deposit. There you go. Now I've got expansion points, which is 6. This is kind of a lot of expansion points for the first time going around, but in the final game we'll be adjusting all these values accordingly. Now that I've got my expansion points, now I can expand my restaurant layout. As you can see, this is a restaurant layout. The orange space represents your dining area, and the green space represents your kitchen area. So I'm going to put 2 expansion points into the kitchen area, expand it a little bit. Right, now I've used up all my points, so I'm going to confirm. Alright, great, now I've got a bigger restaurant. Oh, great, Wallace. So, like I mentioned before, there will be accidents in the kitchen as well, and how you can do to help the people in the kitchen is by getting a fire hydrant to help them, you know, get rid of the fire faster. Anyway, let's continue with the expansion process. Alright, let's put down some tables, because there are people waiting outside. I think having more tables will help with that. Yep, there's this. Great, and I'm gonna put down some other stuff, like a jukebox, maybe a pool table somewhere. Yeah, over there. Now if you notice, when I put down these furniture and decorations, the popularity of my restaurant has gone up. Now I have 44%, 46 now popularity, and I'm getting 10 customers per day. I can even add more things to customize the look of my restaurant. That will also help with the popularity. So you can see the popularity of the restaurant is going up, so I'm just going to put it up, put a couple of this stuff up until it's 100. We'll have a few more decorations than what is we have at the moment here, but I'm just doing this for the purpose of demonstration in terms of popularity. So as you can see now, we get 11 customers a day. So the higher your popularity is, the more customers you're going to get. So that's just the first overview of how to manage your restaurant and your popularity. All right. Now I think it's a good time to talk a little bit about monsters. Now monsters will only attack at night. So we are working very hard to make that a scary experience for the player. The monsters won't attack in the daytime, so players can actually recover from an attack at nighttime. And they don't necessarily attack every night. It depends. We're going to be working on making the attacks depend on how well the player is performing in the game. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to spawn a Zoid. And for the purpose of this presentation, we're only going to be showing one monster. Alright. Okay, Joan, let's get 2 forward. Ah, another fire, Wallace. Alright. So, as you can see, now we've got a Zoid-driven attack. Oh! Okay. The monsters attack the restaurant. Right, okay, Wallace has killed the monster, so let's talk a little bit about what just happened. Now, for like I said previously, for the purpose of this presentation, we are only showing Zoids. And we want to talk a little, we want to make each monster not only look uniquely different, but also behave uniquely different. Like for example, when it came to the Zoid crashed through the restaurant, right, to the restaurant door. And if you notice, it did not attack people. It was attacking the tables. So the idea of the Zoid was we wanted to create a monster that felt like a panicked deer running around in the restaurant and destroying all your furniture. So you have to worry about different things with different monsters. We have other monsters planned, but I think but we will be sharing more on that in a future update. Okay, so now that the monster is dead, I want to talk about on 2 more things, which is basically cooking and defense. So let's first start with cooking. But before that, we've got a big hole in the restaurant, so let's just fix that. Right. So if you notice that once I fixed the restaurant wall, my popularity went up as well. So this is an incentive for players to actually fix their restaurant. Now back to what I was talking about earlier, which is cooking and defense. So since the monster died in the restaurant, the meat from the monster goes straight into your inventory. And you can see all that in our cooking screen. So this is our cooking screen. And as you can see, Zoid Burger is already here, right? And Zoid Burger is made from Zoid meat. Now, every time a new dish, I'm sorry, not a new dish, a new meat is introduced to the player, either through attack from monsters or something that the player buys from a vendor, Wallace will not know a recipe for the meat. So Wallace has to research the meat, and for him, in order for him to come up with the recipes. So let's research Zoid Eye. Okay, so and this research will take 24 hours, but at the same time, while Wallace is researching the meat, he can't do anything else but focus on his research. So before we do this, let's hire another cook. So it's going to the hiring screen. You know what? I think I'll hire a cook and another waiter because since we just expanded. So let's look at the stats that we have here. Okay, this guy here is Beatrice, and he's got cooking of 8, that's really good, and service of 5. But however, his motivation is so low, it's affecting his stats for cooking and service, right? So and he costs about $175. So I don't think he's the best one to go with. I think Kevin is the best one. He's got a good 64% of motivation, 9 and 5 service. So he's all around pretty darn good, and he costs less. So let's go with Kevin. And let's look for somebody for a waiter to hire. This guy is Roger. He's really good. He's 87%, and he's got 9 more, and his stats in service is 9, which is further improved by his high motivation, which is +1. So in total, he's got 10 in terms of service. So let's go with Roger. He's the best guy to go with. Alright, now we can start researching our Zoid Eye. So as soon as you start researching the Zoid Eye, Wallace goes and starts moving to a corner to research. In the meantime, let's just move this around. Let's put that there. Right, so while Wallace is researching the Zoid Eye, let's talk about defense. Since we got attacked by monsters, we don't want the player to feel completely helpless whenever they are attacked by the monsters. So we gave the player the option to actually buy a gun. So you can go to Jericho, and at Jericho what you can do is you can buy a gun from Jericho in his investment menu. So here there's a gun for $250, let's buy a gun. Now as soon as I bought a gun I can now buy bullets from Jericho. So let's buy 2 bullets which cost $120. Well, I can explain why the price is so high in terms of lore, but let me just talk about in terms of mechanics. We want the survival aspect of the game to feel very, very strong. So that's one of the reasons why we made bullets cost a lot. Because if they were cheaper, I don't think the player would be feeling worried at all when they play the game. However, we're open to feedback, and if you like, please go ahead and comment in the Ask Dev section. Right, so I bought the gun and let's go back to the restaurant. Okay, let's just get the time moving again. So as you can see, after buying the gun, um, this icon on the bottom right corner here is highlighted, so that means your gun is available. So I'm going to reload my gun and fast forward time a little bit so that for Wallace will finish his research. Okay, Wallace is done with his research. Yeah, Zoid Eye was researched. So let's go back to the cooking screen and let's look at Zoid Eye. Okay, so Zoid Eye is available to be unlocked, to be tested, the recipe. But the thing is, we need a fryer and we need these two things, batter mix and fries. So we're gonna need to get that from the marketplace, and we're gonna need to buy a fryer as well. So let's do that now. Let me just buy a fryer. Okay, put that down there. Let's go to the marketplace. Okay, let's skip some conversation here. Okay, we need batter, so I'm just going to get 1 batter, maybe 10. And fries. Now let's go back to the cooking screen. So now I can unlock the dish fried Zoid Eyes because I have a fryer and I have the required ingredients. So let's go ahead and unlock that. And voila, you got fried Zoid Eyes. And now that you have fried Zoid Eyes, you can put it on the menu. However, we only have 1 Zoid Eye. So if you go to the menu, you'd see that it's still out of stock, so you can't really put it on it right now. But like I mentioned, throughout the game, if you keep fighting monsters, you can collect monster meat from them, and you can also buy, after the game progresses, Zoid Eye will also be available at the vendors. So let's now go back to talking about the gun and how monsters attack the restaurant. So it's getting the night again, and let's get another Zoid in. If only Wallace will stop having fires. Okay, Wallace. Let's see. Where is the Zoid? Okay, there you go. So I can either start shooting it now, or I can, if I don't notice the monster coming in around, I can shoot it when it's inside the restaurant. Okay, so everybody's gotten rid of the monster. That's great. Now, I just would like to point out that this mechanic of having the gun and shooting the monsters when they attack the restaurant is not the main mechanic that we want to focus about when the player plays the game. In fact, the gun only plays as a supporting role to the staff in your restaurant. It is your job as a player to make sure your staff is leveled up properly and they survive so that they can fight off monsters better. The gun is only there to support the combat between the staff and the monsters. However, there is another mechanic that we are going to be introducing, um, that I will be introducing in a later, in a future update, is traps. And that is going to be the main way of how you defend your restaurant from monsters. Because right now all you saw was one monster attacking the restaurant, and that will probably happen only early on in the game. But as we progress through the game, you're going to have more monsters attacking, and it's going to be a bit more difficult. So you got to keep the people in your restaurant alive, and the way you do that is by setting up traps outside the restaurant. So thank you, Wallace. So that's pretty much all we have for this update. As you can see, that we have a lot more to talk about. All right, hold on. I'm gonna just get rid of that. So as you can see, we've got a lot more to talk about the game in terms of traps, in terms of how the game looks like, and in terms of the lore of the game and the characters in the game and the world of the game. And we look forward to sharing all this with you guys in future updates. In fact, really can't wait. We feel like we're doing something really different here. And with your support and enthusiasm, we know we can make a great game. So we'll let you know when our next update is going to be, in our development roadmap that we will share with you guys sometime in the next week. Thank you all so much for staying with me, and I would like to give a special thanks to the people from Rapid City and the Midwest that have shared so much about their home state with us. It's made us feel more connected to the Midwest, and it has energized the development of our game a lot. So thank you very much, and for those who are in Malaysia, good night.